A phrase we hear a lot is codependence. Many of us are probably in a codependent relationship, which is not healthy, not ideal. And we don't even know what that looks like, what that means. Codependence can be a slippery term, and it can be tough to define. Today, we talk about if we are more codependent than we think and how we can set ourselves, our hearts, free.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday, so I call you up and you call me down? Would it be okay?
Hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. So glad you're here with us. My name is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, you know
good
what?
To be here.
Well, thanks. It's good to be here too. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad
Susan,
you're here.
And I'm so glad you're here out there. Fill in the blank with your own name. Thank you. That sounds so impersonal. You know, this is amazing because we are almost on a summer break in a couple of weeks. And I just want to say that this podcast is now heard in over 100 countries.
Wow.
And heard in over 5,600 cities and over 100,000 downloads. But still, it feels like it's just us and you. It does to me.
It really does.
And, you know, it's like you're in the room here with us and we're just talking about this stuff. And that's what it feels like to us. And I really hope that's what it feels like to you. Please, we would love to hear your feedback on the podcast, what you think of it, what you'd like to hear us talk about, questions you may have, subjects you want us to cover. All of that stuff, just email us. Drop us a line at podcast@freedhearts.org. Podcast@freedhearts.org. And we would love to hear from you. And as always, please do subscribe or follow on your whatever podcast platform you're listening to. And most of you, I know from the analytics, are listening on Apple Podcasts. And please do rate us if you would. 5 stars means a lot. And share this with your family, your friends, your kids, your parents, your other family members who affirm you and what you stand for. Those who don't affirm you, what you stand for. Your pastors, share this with whoever you want to. Your ex-pastors, whatever you want, share this. We would appreciate it. And thanks. And please do check out our resources. It's all at freedhearts.org. Normally, we have been recording this from a construction zone. We're not in that construction zone anymore. That's cool. But we are always, 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 always in a deconstruction zone. Because that's what we do here.
That is so true.
Is we are in a deconstruction zone to deconstruct those beliefs and the false teachings you've heard and the crap that you've been exposed to. Deconstruct all that stuff to free your heart to love and be loved, because that's what you deserve. Thanks for joining us today. I'm out. All right. Anyway.
That was great. Mic drop, except we don't want to break our mics.
That's right. Well, today we're going to talk about being codependent. Yay! This actually comes from one of your beloved adventure courses called Journey Beyond Dysfunction. And we found it so powerful that we wanted to share it with you. By the way, those courses, we've added a couple of new courses or put a couple of our classic courses onto this platform, the parents course and the LGBTQ course. And then coming up in just a couple of weeks is we're going to open the registration for the 25-day Wizarding Adventure. And in 2 weeks, we're doing a very special episode that you definitely want to tune into on what do we do about Harry. So look for that next week. Yeah, that's right. Harry and the Hendersons. What was that? Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And next week, we're going to talk about honoring your body, honoring your truth. But today we're talking about codependency, which is a phrase that we hear a lot, codependence. Many of us are probably, just being straight with you here, many of us are probably in a codependent relationship, which is not healthy, not the ideal, and we don't even know what that looks like or what that means. So, and it can be a slippery term, and it can be tough to define. It's probably on like a spectrum of sorts, like most everything. Again, we're speaking as lay people here. We're not mental health professionals. And even if we were licensed therapists, we would not substitute for regular professional therapy. Just keep that in mind. Side note, by the way, as we deconstruct things, therapy's good. I know if you were raised in the evangelical Christian church or the non-affirming church, you probably heard, therapy's bad.
Or other religious settings.
Yeah. Why? I'll tell you why they would say that, because it causes you to open up your box and question things they don't want you to question. But therapy is good. It's not a bad thing.
Good therapy is good.
Yeah,
yes.
Yes, that's right. Good therapy is good. And this podcast today is to help open the conversation around where to turn next, honestly, and how to view what's happening around you, and to offer a vision of hope that what you're experiencing that doesn't feel healthy is probably not healthy, and what do we do about it? So,
yeah.
yeah.
Codependency, as you said, it's kind of a slippery term, but it has to do with poor boundaries, either non-existent boundaries or permeable boundaries, and lack of self-care, either non-existent self-care or you feel guilty about it. Focusing on other needs of other people at your own expense, because you've been made to believe that your needs are selfish.
We just talked about that recently. Is can we take care of ourselves and others? But we've been made to feel that it's our responsibility, or that's what we should do above all. And to
others, but not for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And that's selfish. Or that's you've been taught that that's selfish. It's not.
Right. And enabling or controlling behaviors also is codependency, where we take responsibility for others' behaviors, either by controlling them or by managing our behavior so we don't evoke a reaction in them.
Yeah. Can you summarize that again? That you said codependency has to do with?
It has to do with poor boundaries, lack of self-care, focusing on others' needs at the expense of my own needs, enabling or controlling behaviors. And that's it.
Yeah.
Those are the ones.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And it took a while for me to figure that out and to act. Okay. So to act in a way that someone else doesn't get angry is codependent.
Wow.
And women, we have been trained to do that in our marriages. We have LGBTQ people. You've been trained to do that in your families and churches. Black people, your life depends on not making someone else angry, doesn't it? It's a little terrifying, actually.
Yeah. We do that a lot. Oh, gosh, I don't want to make them angry. So I'll adjust. I'll adjust what I say, what I feel, what I do, what
even
my
though
behavior is.
Certain groups, straight white men.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Straight white men, I said.
Make sure that's clear, because we know what we're talking about.
Are
here.
not held responsible for their anger. They're just not.
Yeah.
If they're angry, there's a reason for it, and heads will roll, and people better jump to fix whatever they're angry about. And so, so the outlying groups are taught how not to make that person angry.
Yeah. It took us a while to figure it out, but I think you had some experiences growing up.
Yeah.
Not growing up, but in your early 20s.
Yeah, I told you about this so that's why you're remembering. But I was in my 20s or 30s when several of us were sitting around talking, and someone said, if you're sensitive to people's moods and you navigate around people, and I was thinking, yeah, I do that. I'm really good at that.
Uh-oh, that's a setup.
Right? And she went on to say, that comes from dysfunction, because you had to learn how to avoid someone getting angry or violent or whatever. And I thought, oh, well, crap. Even this skill, which I have and appreciate about myself, comes from my dysfunction. I had thought it was a good thing. And it is a good thing. I mean, I learned how to navigate relationships with people in a way that cares for them.
Well, and even the other part too, as I first heard that, you share that story, I thought, well, yeah, I mean, we should be sensitive to people's moods. The codependency
to
comes
care for them. Yes.
When we navigate, we adjust ourselves or at our own expense to navigate around them to protect their moods.
Yes.
Or to not, yes.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. When you do it out of care, it's one thing. When you do it out of fear of what is going to happen, that's another.
Yeah.
And like an example of the caring was that I had a friend who had eating disorders, and we were very close, and I was giving her a shirt, and I said, do you want this shirt? And I almost said, it's too big for me. But at the last second, I said, it doesn't fit me right. And she actually noticed that, because she's highly sensitive. She had to learn how to navigate people. And she said, thank you for changing your wording. And I thought, of course, it's an easy gift to give to avoid a potential triggering response for her, if you can do it. So let me make sure the difference is clear.
Yeah.
That if I say to her, so would you like this shirt? It doesn't fit me right, can avoid triggering her in a way that I could trigger her if I said, or she could get triggered. If I said, do you want this? This is too big for me. It'll fit you because you're bigger than me, basically, is what I'm saying. And so to avoid that for her benefit is a gift to her.
That's a good thing. That's a good, yes,
that's a good way to do that. But if I tiptoe around someone because they might lash out in anger and I hold back on myself because I don't want to anger someone else, then that's codependent. You see, there's a really good difference in that thing.
Is there an easy way to tell? I mean, is there just talking here? Is there a given? I'm just asking you, is there an easy way to tell?
If you're doing it as a gift to them, then that's a gift and that's a good thing. If you're doing it to avoid a potentially bad reaction that could be loud, volatile, dangerous, a lecture, whatever, then that's codependent. And I'm not saying, say whatever you want and invite whatever response you get, but I am saying, because you don't want to unleash a diatribe from your parent for the 400th time about your romantic orientation. Nobody wants to listen to that. That's why we learn how to navigate it. But to understand that it's codependent and to begin to work out how to deal with that and maybe move into safer relationships will help you, because to recognize that that's an unsafe relationship or unhealthy because it's codependent, it takes it off of you. Like, it takes it off of you having responsibility for their reaction to you.
Yeah, think of the peacemaker. You know what I mean? Where someone thinks, I've got to keep the peace. I've got to keep everyone from blowing up.
It's really a peacekeeper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's
not making peace. They're just keeping the peace. No, it's
that. As I thought of that phrase, I thought that doesn't sound right, but I'm going to say it anyway. But thank you for finding what I was looking for, the peacekeeper.
Yeah.
It's like, Dad's going to get mad if we do this, so I'm going to try to keep the peace. This is hard. This is hard to navigate. You know what I mean? I mean,
here's another example. It costs me nothing to say, this shirt doesn't fit me right, instead of it's too big. And that is a gift for her. But if I say, sure, roommate, I don't mind that you ate my leftover Chinese food without asking, that I was looking forward to for dinner. In that case, I'm denying my own truth to avoid a confrontation with them, which is costly to me because I'm not speaking my truth. I'm just swallowing it. Whatever behavior comes at me, I'm just taking it. And that's not healthy. That's not self-caring. That's not boundaries for me.
Yeah, I think the answer to our question when we started is, are we more codependent than we think? It's
Yes.
Yeah, just unknowingly. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
especially in marriage, yeah.
Yeah, especially in marriage. I mean, women, especially in typical hetero marriages where men have been given free rein to express their anger and women have been conditioned to navigate to avoid that anger. The wife will use her highly honed skills that she learned to act in a way that doesn't, quote, make him mad, even though he should be responsible for his anger, not her. She doesn't make him mad. He has a choice in how he responds.
Isn't that one of those things where you make me mad is in a conversation skill? That phrase is not, you made me so mad when or you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like a don't use skill.
Yeah, that's
don't
right.
use phrase.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm going to go off the road just a little bit here, but
I'll follow you.
It's very similar to women being held responsible for how they dress and act so that they don't incite lust in the men around them and men around them. And that is so taught in our
purity
churches,
culture.
in our purity culture, where, I'm responsible for every guy around me by how I dress or look or anything. And that is so wrong. It so furthers this rape culture and it furthers codependence because he is not held responsible.
Because it's his choice on how he responds. It's my choice as a man and as a husband how I respond. Period.
Are you going to objectify the woman in front of you or treat her as an object? I mean, objectify her and treat her as an object because everything in your life is an object, including the people. Or are you going to respect her as a human being? That's a skill that white men, straight white men especially, need to really hone in this culture, is to stop objectifying everything around them as being in their service.
Yeah, I was listening to a news story yesterday about and I won't very old, almost 80 years old, elected official here in the state of Washington. And he was in trouble for insensitive things that he said about person of color's food choice, about a person of color asking them about some sort of random weird history in their country. And even after being confronted by multiple people, he's like, well, I don't get it. I mean, I just, I don't.
And he doesn't get it.
And he doesn't get it.
Because he's been conditioned into that.
That's right.
Which does not excuse him.
Right. When you know better, do better. But yes.
But we need to start teaching people so they know better.
And he was losing his position over this too. So.
And I know he's befuddled by it.
Yeah. He doesn't. The answer is, well, okay. I guess if you found that offensive, I'm sorry.
So too bad, so sad about losing your position. But how many people over our history have lost their position on the opposite end and been treated, objectified, and never gotten the shot that the dominant culture, straight white men, have gotten? To rectify it can feel like, oh my, this is so hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to rectify something that's been wrong for 250 years.
I've been conditioned to vent my anger.
Yes.
And you've been, not you, but
I have.
Women have been conditioned to navigate. You have actually been conditioned to navigate my anger.
Yes.
And we've dealt with this stuff. I mean, I've been someone that has had a time, especially early on, that my anger was out there, and I yelled at the kids and you and you had to navigate all of that.
And as great as we are together, we didn't just arrive at this. We had to get to this point where we had to overcome a lot of that, that conditioning. And as I said, these are stereotypical hetero relationships, but there are plenty of same-sex relationships where one partner vents freely and the other navigates it. The other absorbs it.
Parent-child too. Yeah.
But there are plenty of same-sex relationships where one partner vents their anger freely and the other navigates it. And so, but if you're speaking in a way that avoids someone's anger, that can be codependent.
In order to avoid someone's anger,
yes.
That's right. Yeah, it can be codependent, yeah.
So, and I'll tell you something else about anger and about guilt. That guilt is often a cover for anger. And, we often experience guilt instead of anger because we haven't been able to access our anger. Women, LGBTQ people, people of color, immigrants, really anyone but straight white males have been conditioned not to express their anger. It hasn't been safe for them to be angry, and they don't think they ever get angry because they've never been allowed to be. And so it morphs into guilt.
Yeah.
And gosh, I think those groups are the most guilt-bearing of all. I mean, it just hit me all over again. I know straight white men have guilt, feel guilt, but the groups of women, of LGBTQ people, of people of color, especially Black people, just bear this guilt for things that are not theirs to bear the guilt for.
You're right. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of wrap this up, or bring this to a close by talking about or sharing some of the traits of codependent people, according to Codependence Anonymous, which is highly recommended, by the way. And this list comes from their website. So we want to share that with you. And what this is, it's a pattern of codependent behavior. It lists patterns of denial, of self-esteem, low self-esteem, compliance, control, avoidance. Now, you may recognize some of these things on this list. I know that we have thought of several of the relationships in our own lives, close, personal, family relationships, and just friendships, again, with friends, children, family. We recognize this in our relationships, and I think you will too. So here we go. Here are some patterns of codependent behavior, according to Codependence Anonymous. Codependents often have trouble even knowing what they're feeling. They often minimize how they truly feel. They often use anger, humor, or isolation to mask pain. And I keep saying they, like it's some
other
awful
people.
Thing, but it's we. I'll say we on this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So codependence. So we often use anger, humor, or isolation to mask pain. We can often be indecisive or passive-aggressive.
Because passive-aggressive is a safer way, we feel, to express our anger. Yeah.
We believe that we're never good enough. And if that's been fed by direct, I mean, some of you out there who have been on the receiving end of non-affirming comments, relationships, you've received that. You've been told, direct that. So with that can just be heightened. But we believe that we're not good enough. We are loyal to a fault, remaining in harmful situations too long. Again, these are patterns of some codependent behavior.
Yeah. They'd say that abused women who are badly, like violently abused, it often takes them 7 tries to get away, 7 times that they try to leave their abusive partner because the lure to come back is so strong and because they bear the guilt themselves instead of recognizing the guilt of the partner fully.
Right.
So yeah, we stay in harmful situations too long.
So we being codependent, we often put aside our own interests in order to do what others want.
Yeah, it's, what do you want for dinner? Whatever you want. I'm good. Whatever you want.
Well, and there's some, well, no, I say that all the time, but it depends if you're the reason you're doing that. That one's, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's,
and I don't want to
getting
take
along with
away,
each other.
I don't want to diminish true kindness and sacrifice here either. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's a good point.
So it depends the reason. If it's like, well, I don't want to piss him off by doing this or her off by this, or even though I really want this, I'm responsible for that. Well, this is an example because there's a time when I will, in the past especially, I'll like set aside what I really want for the sake of what I think will make the kids, or not the kids, but the family happy in a situation. And there's something to be said for self-sacrifice. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about where I end up at the end of that feeling a little bit resentful, or like that's really what I deserve. I don't deserve to have my needs and desires, met or cared for. You know what I mean? So this is hard. This is not easy.
And the other thing is to look for a pattern of.
Well, that again, these are patterns too.
Yeah. So are you the one person there I'm talking to?
Oh.
Are you the one who usually
always says that,
apologizes, who usually says whatever you want, who usually backs down? That's a pattern.
Again, these are patterns of codependent behavior.
Yeah.
So just a few more here. We are afraid to express our beliefs, opinions, and feelings when they differ from those of others. No, we don't think that. And, anyway, we give up our truth.
But we had to get to this point.
Yeah, that's right.
We had to navigate.
We give up our truth. Yeah, we give up our truth to gain the approval of others or to avoid change. I know many of you out there listening are in this situation right now. You've had to give up your truth. We have used sexual attention to gain approval and acceptance. And the last one is we have to feel needed in order to have a relationship with others. That's, we talk about this. Yeah. We have to feel needed. It's tough to, we always say, well, it's 50-50 or 100-100. It's really 100-0 is kind of how I like, I want to give everything and have you give it back because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if we've been all over the board a little bit in this episode. This is a tough, tricky.
And it's hard to say these are the rules and then somebody has a different scenario. But relationships really, the ideal relationship is interdependent. It's not independent where you're totally living two separate lives.
That's excellent. Can you wrap this up also by kind of talking about codependent, interdependent, independent?
Yeah.
What a healthy relationship you said is interdependent.
Yeah.
And how that differs from codependency.
So codependent, if you put your hands together, put your index fingers together where they're touching and sort of making a little tent. And then this is codependent. If one falls, the other falls on top of them because they're too interdependent. I mean, they're too codependent. They're depending on each other,
holding each other
to stand.
Mm.
And now hold your fingers like 6 inches apart, separate, your index fingers. This is independent. And you're too far apart to be relating interdependently. You're too far apart. You're separate lives. But interdependent is like make an X with your index fingers. Then if one starts to fall, the other is there in support of them without falling themselves. So
that's really good.
Yeah. So it really, you want to be independent just means you're not learning how to navigate relationships. Codependent means you're too dependent on each other. And even the one who who needs, who has the need is the more dependent, but it's not true. The one who needs to
that's
control is just as needy as the one they're
Yeah.
controlling, because then who are they if they're not controlling
Right.
this person? But
Interdependent.
interdependent is where you each have your separate lives and you each stand, but you engage with each other. But my well-being doesn't rise and fall. Though I'm empathetic with you and care about you, it doesn't destroy me.
That makes sense. It doesn't rise and fall. What you said, it doesn't rise and fall. And actually hearing you say that, if you're saying that like to me and not with these people in 100 countries listening right now, but I get great peace from that.
Yeah.
Because while I want you to need me,
yes,
you not where if you fall, I fall.
Right.
Where if you fall, I can be there for you and I can help you, but not so much. Again, I love the finger example too.
Yeah.
Where you fall and it makes me fall too.
Right.
So that interdependence is where you want to be. And that's a great.
And I stumbled just a second ago because as I was saying what I was saying, I was thinking, it does affect me. If you're stressed out, we just moved.
Well, yeah.
We're still, getting settled in this new place. And when you're stressed, which moving does to you, I do get stressed. I don't like for you to be stressed and out of sorts. And I do kind of, and yeah, I love you and I care about you and I like our feng shui to be peaceful here, But on the other hand, when you're in your stress situation, I go in the other room and I know that I'm doing me. I've done what I could to support you, but I can't, if I get stressed by your stress,
you're not responsible.
It doesn't help me.
Yeah. You're not responsible for
you.
my stress. That's right.
No, I'm not. And even though I do kind things to take care of you as much as I can, and you do for me, which is important that's reciprocal, I'm not responsible for your stress.
And when you feel like
and it doesn't have to take away my stress.
And I see it in, yes, that's right.
Make me stressful.
I see it in you. And I feel it in me that when you are responsible for me and you're doing things out of that codependency, I see you get exhausted.
Yes.
It's
exhausting.
And kind of beaten down on that. It's just that weight is too much. You don't have to. So that interdependence is where you want to be. And this episode is simply, this is complex and this is layered. And we wanted to do this to help open the conversation around where to turn next. And maybe it's a fresh view of what's happening around you. And again, it can be so integrated, weaved into our lives that we don't see it or we feel lost on what to do. So we hope this has provided you a vision of hope that what you're experiencing that doesn't feel healthy is probably not healthy. And it's a very common thing. And we hope it's opened up the conversation in the box.
And
so
can I just toss in here that when you begin to see your codependence and you want to make changes, don't expect the person you're codependent with to say, oh yeah, I'm on board, because remember, they're depending on you too. That a controller doesn't want you to have friends, for example.
Yeah.
And so to gain your own independence is not a welcome thing. So you'll probably need help to do it. And I do recommend Codependence Anonymous. I think it's really powerful for people. So
again, you take care of you, and you're not responsible for, again, like you said, you're not responsible for my stress. You're also not responsible for my healing.
Yeah.
And my growth. So,
and unfortunately, sometimes to really get what you need may mean moving, 2,000 miles away. It really may mean that. So, or changing jobs or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. It may take some major changes to take care of yourself, because you know what? You deserve it. You deserve to love and be loved for who you are as you are. And we love you. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the FreedHearts podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant community for you at www.freedhearts.org. Just come say hello. And if you have questions or issues or comments about the podcast, things you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at podcast@freedhearts.org. HeySaintSinner.org. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner, and you can find out more about her at HeySaintSinner.com. Please share this, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and thanks for listening.